In this example, I'm going to create a berm ditch to intercept runoff before it reaches the top of the cut slope. I'll place the berm ditch in approximately this location. Before I do that, I'm going to create a 5-foot offset line from the top of the cut slope to guide me in my placement of the ditch. I'm going to change my feature definition to construction and then lay out the line. I'm going to go to the Geometry tab, to Offsets and Tapers, Single Offset Partial. I want my offset to be 5 feet. From the prompt, I'm going to pick the element, so that's the top of the cut slope. And I'll identify the beginning, which is about here, and I'll run that to about here. Make sure I change this to positive value. And then I'll use that as a guide. The next step is to create the horizontal alignment for the berm ditch. Change my feature definition to ditch baseline. Go to Geometry and Complex by PI. And I don't need to worry about being exact here. I'm just going to place it approximately where I think it needs to go. Put in some PI points and follow the slope down. And then I want to end this berm ditch at this existing ditch here. And I'll reset to complete. Give this a name. The next step is to assign this an initial profile. I want the berm ditch to be a constant 2 feet below the existing ground surface. So I will go up to my vertical tools under profile creation and profile from surface. I'm going to set this back to construction. This is just a temporary profile. And for my vertical offset, I'm going to put in -2. The prompt is to locate the element to profile, so I'll select my horizontal alignment, reset to complete, reset to use my active terrain model. I'm going to accept my prompts for lock to start and end, and accept all my other inputs. Now I'm going to open up a profile model to see what I've got so far. And now I'm ready to put in my actual design profile. I'm going to change the exaggeration here. I'm going to change my feature definition back to baseline and then lay in my profile using profile complex by PI. I'm going to snap to the beginning and then just hit these low points to make sure that my profile is at least 2 feet deep. You can always come back and change these later, so you don't have to worry about hitting everything exact here. And then I want to end my profile at existing ground. So I'll snap to the end of existing ground there. And then reset to complete. And then don't forget to make that the active profile for the alignment. At this point, I am ready to create a corridor, my berm ditch. First, I want to make sure that I have a template library loaded up, which I do. So I'll go to New Corridor, follow the prompt to locate the corridor baseline. I'll select my horizontal alignment, reset for the active profile. I'll accept that corridor name. Select that feature, and then go to Create Template Drop. And I'm going to press Alt down arrow to go to my Pick Template dialog. I'm going to use a head ditch or a tail ditch for this template. So I'll use the Class B riprap and select that, confirm that selection. Then I'm going to use the Alt key to snap to the start and end stations of my alignment, and then accept the contour, the template drop interval of 2 feet. Now I have my initial corridor model, and there it is. Now that I have a corridor model, I'm going to create a dynamic cross-section view for this corridor rather than the roadway corridor. So I'll select my corridor handle and create a corridor, a dynamic view for the berm ditch corridor. Note that at this point, the berm ditch is based on the default dimensions of the template. I have a trapezoidal ditch, and I have 4:1 side slopes for my lining and 2:1 side slopes for the cut slopes. I want to change this to have a bottom width equals 0 to make this a V ditch, and I'm going to change the lining slopes to a 2:1 slope. So I'll do this by selecting my corridor handle and going to parametric constraints. I'm going to change my lining slope from 4:1 to 2:1. Accept all those inputs. And now I'll change this to a V ditch. So change these values from 4 to 0. And now I'll accept those inputs. All right. Now I just need to make some final edits to this ditch to locate it where I want it to be. Before I make the alignment changes, I'm going to turn off some of these levels from the 3D model, turn off the contours. And in the 2D view, I'm going to turn off some of the levels as well so that I can get to my horizontal alignment. And I'm also going to turn off the graphics. It's a little bit cleaner. So at this point, you can see that my ditch is going a little closer than that 5 feet line than I would like. So I'm just going to start making some edits here. To get my limit of grading outside that 5-foot limit. As I make these changes, the corridor is always updating. That's pretty close. Pull this out a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Now, one thing I wanted to check is these angular deflections here. I want to take a look at the template drops. So I'll change my display, the 3D model, so that I can see those template drops. And you can see that I do have some issues here. So I'm going to take care of that using the table editor and add some horizontal curves. Find those locations. So there's the first one. Try 10 feet as an initial guess for these two. And then apply and see what it looks like. That looks pretty good. So I'll close that. Now turn the contours back on and turn off the template drops. And now that's the final ditch. As you can see, and I'll look at the 3D view here, as the profile approaches existing, you can see that the ditch is tapering down as it should. And now when I'm done, I can go ahead and get rid of my construction line. And now the berm ditch is complete.